Well, this is the big one, the third and potentially conclusive stage of the 100th anniversary edition of the Tour de Hongrie. Perfect weather conditions for the riders, not too much in the way of wind. Beautiful sunshine, in actual fact, for the riders as they get set to head out of Godolo and into what is the Queen stage. Beautiful town of Godolo, just about 30 kilometres northeast of the outskirts of Budapest. Population 32,000 and a rich and varied history. Beautiful architecture, much to see. An amazing arboretum hereabouts, and that's Godolo, which will say goodbye to the riders and send them on their way with a total of 163 kilometers of racing, just under 2,000 meters of elevation. That long loop towards the end includes both of the classified climbs along the way, backloading the climbing. What's going to be a very grippy conclusion to the day. Category 2 ascent, followed by the final ramp up to the Kekesteto climb, one of the most famous and fabled destination points in the history of this event. 16 times we've come up this tallest mountain in Hungary, relatively shallow at just 1,000 meters, but it's a very, very challenging climb for the riders. Up to the TV mast, who's going to prevail? Seen at the start, the great and the good coming out to send the 117 riders left in this event into action. It was a very, very demanding stage yesterday, particularly for those involved in an enormous crash, which claimed no less than 7 riders forced to abandon. Luckily, none without any serious, significant long-term injury, so delighted to be able to report that. It really was a difficult moment for the riders, those still involved, and particularly the general classification and the jersey classification holders moved to the front, on the front row, and presented to a very large crowd, which is very much the order of the day, isn't it, in Tour de Hongrie. Crowds coming out in force to support this event. Huge engagement from the host nation for an event which can trace its lineage all the way back to 1925. Short rollout for the riders past the Royal Palace. Fascinating piece of architecture, that, isn't it? Interesting arrangement. And everybody relaxed and well tonsured ahead of the big push. Flag in, send them on their way. Road already gripping, and early opportunity for the riders to flex their muscles, show what they're made of, and the early break soon establishing itself. Well, it took a little while actually for that early break to establish itself, but eventually we've got 6 riders clear. The 7th with dreams and hopes of joining in. Well, difficult moment for Victor van den Berge. Got to within just a handful of seconds, and then just arriving on this climb, this drag upwards, which is going to make it tough for him to get in, and he's leaking time. I don't think Van den Berge from the cyclocross squad, the Powell's well-known Belgian cyclocross team, is going to be able to get in here because the time is going out, and they're not minded to hang around for him. Zol Tisselstecker, the local man, 2 Hungarians in this run of 6 riders, clear of the field, not allowing him to get in, and it is a committed effort here from Ricani to take the first intermediate sprint of the day. Ricani with Bendigus Mathias Nagy in there, ahead of Michael Skuran, representing the interests of the Team United Shipping. For the 2nd day in a row, clear in the break. Van den Berge, he got so close, literally within a few seconds of joining that breakaway. Unfortunately, they didn't wait for him, and well, the elastic snapped, and out the back he went, or at least down back towards the main peloton, where the sprinters are enjoying a day in the sunshine. Riding along in the wake of the Astana squad, doing the pacemaking on the front. Danny van Poppel, the overall race leader, in yellow, and his green jersey. He leads the points classification, and that green jersey is worn on his behalf by the man that he vanquished, Dylan Groenewegen, in yesterday's 2nd stage. Grasalkovic mansion looking pretty good as well. It's a Baroque architecture hereabouts. Maximum lead for this breakaway group stretched out to almost 3 minutes at one stage. It's been pared back under a sort of committed chase, or a sort of stolid chase indeed from the Astana squad, as Rakhani scoops another 5 points towards the points classification. 3 bonus seconds, likely to be of little consequence or value to him by the end of the day. That summit finish to come. Well, you never know if this breakaway does manage to last clear to the end of the day to contest 4 stage honours. Could be very significant for the general classification. Having said that, with 80 kilometres remaining and an advantage of just 1 1/3 minutes, you wouldn't bet on it really. Coming closer to the end of the day, the advantage holding steady at 1.5 minutes as the gradient starts to grip, approaching the lower slopes of the first of the classified climbs. We're on the loop. That includes the finishing climb. Indeed, much of this Matarasa climb in the Matra Mountains is basically the same climb the second time round, but they just bolt on an extra really demanding section, which really sort of gives the final Kekastato climb its name and its reputation as being one of the more demanding climbs, the most demanding. I think it's recognized as being the most demanding climb in all of Hungary. Victor Vercouy, what a strong and emerging talent he is, the young 22-year-old Belgian rider, and he is a breakaway specialist. He was in the break in pretty much almost every race that he's done this year. I think it's something in the order of about 8-10 races that he's been clear. Over 1,000 kilometres in breakaways already this year for Victor Vercouy in the white, blue and yellow colours of the Team Baloise squad, and looking to contest for this first GPM, this first dollop of mountain points delivered to the riders. But it's Rakhani that is his appetite for sprints today in that breakaway is currently unsated. Takes another haul of points, 10 towards the mountains category. Vercouy defending the interests, of course, of his teammate Siba de Weert, who leads the mountains classification. He'll hope to take the glory by the end of the day. At least to secure and be ensured that he'll retain that red jersey into the penultimate stage. He's safely nestled in the peloton on the left-hand side of shot in that red jersey. Team Flanders Baloise squad deciding to not go for the break today, maybe keep his powder dry, try and recover a little bit to go, if not on the 4th stage, I think the 5th and final stage, offering plenty of mountain points and a good opportunity for him. Rakhani's become detached on the descent of that first climb of the day as they head around on this finishing loop, long finishing loop that will take them into the final climb. 3 continental squads from the host nation involved, and they've certainly given a good account of themselves. All 3 teams involved in the early breaks, and indeed involved in the finishes as well. Rakhani finding himself detached and back into the welcome embrace of the main peloton. Sirach Castle, a prominent vantage point in the Matra Mountains from which to survey the efforts of the main group in pursuit of the breakaway. Less than a minute now. At this point, it's about setting a tempo that makes it as demanding as possible for the climbers that don't much enjoy the flat roads. And the breakaway starting to fracture a little bit. Long day in the break for them, and well, Shuran putting the pressure on. Vercouy also there, seemingly in pretty good form. The Upernecks riders starting to struggle a little bit. That's Essel Stecker, the Hungarian rider who's just become detached. Previously, of course, Umberto Poli there for the Team Novo Nordisk squad in the break today. Not going to be able to contest this final kilometre. Let's get a look at what's in prospect for the riders. 8% for most of the final 3 kilometres of the final climb, and beautiful wide roads, you know, in comparison to a lot of mountains that riders would ride up. Very smooth surface. And I don't think you'd necessarily get it from that particular image, but it is a very, very grippy and demanding final rise to the line. Those final 3 kilometres, particularly difficult. Down to 2, and only neutral service there and available to support these 2 riders, these intrepid adventurers in the breakaway today. Victor Vercouy, the man from Kortrijk in Belgium. Slightly longer climb in prospect to those that he enjoyed, in the likes of the Grand Prix Jean-Pierre Montserrat, where he finished 6th earlier on this year. Spanish teams gravitating towards the front, the Equipa Kern Pharma squad, with hopes and dreams of glory today. What even Remero Sosa can achieve. Urko Barade as well will hope for something a little bit special at the back end of today's effort. And the advantage for Vercoey and Skuran is starting to rise a little bit. If anything, they've gained a second or two in the last kilometre or so. Disappointment for Zsolt Isselstecker, but nonetheless, brave efforts, and great for him to be clear of the field and up the road on home roads. Home fans watching on TV throughout the stage, and plenty by the side of the road as well. Lots of them at the top of the mountain are waiting, all of the Hungarian riders, and indeed all of the riders in this event. Gleb Syriza, who the big man in the centre for the Astana squad, has done great work in the lead-outs for the Astana team in the first 2 days of racing, helping to produce very impressive sprint finishes for his teammate Matteo Malucelli, and he's been setting the tempo for much of the day. We've got a couple of GC favourites in the Astana squad, of course, of Sergio Higuita, one of the best-known riders in this race, and also Harold Martin Lopez. He's been in absolutely stunning form of late. First and second in his most recent stage races. Stage win as well in the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey, in which he finished second overall. He won the Tour of Hellas, so he's one to watch out for. Sergio Higuita as well. Been a couple of years since he's come up with the big World Tour results. Numerous indeed, which have given him his reputation. Volta Catalunya victor as well back in 2022 for Sergio Higuita, so they've got a couple of cards to play. Other teams also wondering what's possible. The Flanders Balois squad crowding around. They won't move too close to the front though. They've got Vercoey still up there, approaching that final climb of the day. Their advantage down to just 50 seconds. Going to be tough for Skuran and Vercoey to hang on, but nonetheless they've shown great ability and a brave effort, and really just weren't given a lot of rope. Maybe the reputation of Vercoey in particular, or maybe just that there are so many riders who have particular ability on flat and relatively flat roads that just want to make their contribution for as long as possible. And that meant that they were keeping that break on a relatively short leash. 200 metres to the final intermediate sprint of the day. Doesn't look like there's going to be a contest here. Skuran at the head of affairs. Meanwhile, behind in the main peloton, is there any interest in this one? It's Skuran that is going to lead Vercoey across the line. Not contested. The 3 and the 2 bonus seconds of little interest to these riders. The points towards the points classification 2 of no great consequence, and Vercoey has decided that's enough of that, and he's going to take his leave. He will at the very least be the last man standing from the 6-rider breakaway. But his hopes and thoughts are of something a little bit more, something a little bit different as well for Danny van Poppel, the overall race leader. He's going to be stepping out of yellow at the end of the day. The big mountain won't suit him, but on the approach to that final climb, an opportunity maybe just to step out of the bunch, claim some points towards that points classification. He leads that one as well as overall. The likelihood is he'll be wearing green in tomorrow's penultimate stage, with hopes of a 3rd stage victory of the week. What a week it's been for the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe squad. They lost 3 riders in the crash yesterday. Disappointing day for them, and then it was sort of greatly enhanced or saved by a glorious 2nd successive stage victory for Danny van Poppel. Victor Vercoey continues to push, as indeed does Gleb Syriza. He's starting to make faces. He's not the only one. Everyone's feeling this. Schelling and Charmig as well, close to the front for the Astana squad. And the climb proper is about to begin. There's plenty of climbing before the climb. And for much of the early kilometers of this final 11, it runs at about an average of 5%. Well, there you have it. I mean, it's a lot more than an average of 2.8%. It contains an average of 5% the whole climb, and then the final 2-3 kilometers at just over 8%, max 12. And that could be a little bit too much for Janos Pelikan, wearing the white jersey, leading Hungarian rider after 2 stages, after 2 days in the break, and indeed went within a very close margin of wearing the overall race leader's jersey into today's stage. If Danny van Poppel hadn't finished in the top 3 yesterday, that would have been the case. Skuran, the Czech rider, 28 years of age. Back into what's still a large group at the bottom of the climb. Van Poppel pulls the plug. That's his moment in yellow, John. That's his moment in the front group, John. He'd go looking for sprinters to ride up the mountain at a more sedate rate. There's one he might want to chat to. There's a couple, indeed. Luca Mez gets in the company of Dylan Groenewegen. Lead-out man and sprinter. Also keep company with each other on the mountains. Bye-bye to the yellow jersey. What a week he's having. I wonder whether the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe squad have potential for some glory today. Emil Herzog has been in some good form. A rider who infiltrates breaks and can come up with a decent finish on mountain stages of major international stage races. So Emil Herzog, good opportunity for them. Vercouy is hanging on to it. He looks good on the bike, doesn't he? All action style, but there's a nice easy rhythm about his pedaling. Schelling and Charmig available to the 2 climbers, Higuita and Harold Marcin Lopez. And the catch inevitable. Brave resistance. Looks like he's still full of fight, but the pace behind from what is still a very large group, and well, still 9.5 kilometers remaining. That group is surely set to be whittled down, but it's not too many riders have decided to pull the plug too early on this climb. Of course, they've been up most of it already and formed the basis basically of the first climb they went up, and it's just like they've bolted in the extra sort of climb to the summit on. The second time of asking. The second time of asking is once too long, really, for Janos Pelikan. Well, he's still overtaking riders, so he might have been off. He is off the back and maybe just riding back on for a little while at any rate. Races past Luca Kolnagi. He was 10th across the line on day 1 in the sprint. Vercouy is about to be reclaimed. Peloton organising itself into a colour order, at least at the front, with the Astana riders in line astern and directly in front of the Lidl-Trek combination. Their first couple of days dedicated to the sprint interests of Tim Thorn Teutenberg from the Lidl-Trek, those red, blue and yellow jerseys, distinctive colour combination. And Lidl-Trek with hopes of trying to set something up for Albert Withen Philipsen, the teenaged Danish prodigy, already a world champion at junior level, and now as a first-year senior racing with a World Tour outfit in a major international stage race, and with potential for overall glory perhaps today. The Danish rider has got plenty of Lidl-Trek riders around him, just following in the wake of these Astana riders on the front. Starting to get a little bit painful underneath the chairlift that tells you that this is a ski destination, and therefore, ergo, it's got a big slope. It's a mountain. Popular destination as well for hikers during the summer, and of course, it's all cyclists' mecca. Kekesteto. Who will conquer Hungary's toughest climb today? Well, still plenty that believe, still plenty that are available to try and help those that believe. 4 for Astana, but for how much longer? Higuita and Lopez behind, waiting to strut their stuff, but what's possible? UAE Team Emirates, XRG have Alessandro Covi. And Oliveira is available as well to try and set something up and support the interests of that team. One wonders where Covi is. Well, there's where Juan Sebastian Milano is, the Colombian sprinter, stepping off the front. He'll go looking for friends as well. Courses from Powell, Sousa and Sybil Clementines also becomes detached as the pace really starts to take effect. And the group is still large in number, but there's a few in there will be hurting right now as it's stretched thin, and even you got to be wary of even dropping your teammates. Stage 3 of 5, 2 claimed so far by the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe squad. Are we going to have a new team in the victor's circle at the end of today? Are we going to have a new rider on the top of general classification? Well, that's assured. Most recent victors generally went on to win this race overall. Thibaut Nace, Damien Howson, Walter et al. Antonio Tiberi being the exception. He just about caught and passed Eddie Dunbar within sight of the finish line a few years ago, but Dunbar took the overall title commandingly on that occasion. Siebe de Weert still in the group, the mountains leader. He dares to dream of maybe, just maybe, taking some extra points on the finishing climb today for Siebe de Weert. He'll hang on as long as he possibly can. Meanwhile, the Lidl Trek squad, as Astana run out of domestiques, they feel the need to take on the pacemaking on the front. And Teutenberg, after all his great sprint efforts over the last couple of days, feels that it's time to give something back to his teammates. Sharmek has done the needful and done what he possibly could for the Astana squad. It's now up to the GC riders, and will Higuita be there and available to support Harold Lopez Martin? And will they play it? Seven to go. Lidl Trek laying down a marker here. Q36.5 just behind. And Matteo Baldolati has been top 10 on this mountain on a couple of occasions. Harm van Houke as well. Kind of hill, kind of company that he has been known to keep in the past, and his move across to the Q36.5 Pro Cycling team, waiting to produce dividends. Could be an opportunity for him to go for a top 10 or better today. Down the back, there are riders in there, and that no, they won't be in there much longer. What about this for a committed effort from Tim Thorn Teutenberg? 2 podium finishes in the first 2 stages, and now dedicating himself to the early slopes of this climb. He peels off as much as he can do, hands it over once more to Ryan Gibbons, who's done a fair bit of legwork on the front in the first 2 days of action, and indeed has also done a fair bit in this stage already to this point. Teutenberg will try and slot in at the back and hang on and maybe just think about recovering, but he's probably cooked and done at that. Yeah. Track world champion. We'll reset, go again in the sprints tomorrow. For now, it's up to Albert Witham Philipsen, the 18-year-old from Denmark, to see what he can deliver for the Lidl Trek squad. Gibbons, 30-year-old South African rider on the front. Setting a solid agenda. Q36.5, still have 3 riders involved. Van Hoek's there. Padalati also there. It's a bit like Brambilla, also available, the oldest rider in the race. One of the youngest and the oldest, quite close to each other. Still the early stages of the climb. Not so much the early stages as still the point at which things are manageable for a sizable group. As the gradient rises above 5%, gets up around the 6-7% or more, that's when we'll see this one thin out. There you have it, 4 of the last 5 times up the Kekes climb. The winner has gone on to win the race. Siebe de Weert still here. Is there any chance of surviving through to contest? He's a breakaway specialist, of course, Siebe de Weert, and he has founded the last couple of years in red for him, fundamentally in going in the early moves. Gibbons starting to rock, shoulders rocking a little bit, face, well, starting maybe to betray a little bit of the strain of trying to maintain this effort, maybe just a little bit above threshold here, and you can only do that for so long. Maybe, just maybe, about to hit a brick wall. In metaphorical sense, you understand. Down to the final 5 kilometers of this third and potentially decisive stage of Tour de Hongrie. He's going to be in yellow at the conclusion of the day. Still riders, I won't say in abundance, but enough of them available for Albert With and Philipsen. Tim de Klerk's still there, which is impressive stuff from the tractor. And Teutenberg has managed to drag himself back in, and that's really impressive stuff. Gibbons steps off. Great contribution from him, and Teutenberg still available. Other teams crowding around and sensing maybe there's just a slightest hint of a drop-off in the pace, or maybe an opportunity to take command. This is where the road shallows ever so slightly, and the speed goes up north of 40 kilometers an hour. This won't last for long, but while it does, let's see what's possible. And well, they're absolutely charging along here. Uphill, but you'd hardly know it. The road hits 5% once more. The pace drops away a little bit, and an opportunity for an attack, and it's from the upstart, almost impudent Team United Shipping squad, local squad, Division 3 team. It's a team that's been put together relatively recently, in actual fact, and how well formed it is and how ambitious they've been so far this week. Looks a bit like Vetter. They're one of their strong climbing performers in this group. 6th and 9th across the line in the first 2 stages for Mihailo Stolic of the Team United Shipping squad. And of course, in the break on the first 2 days, Janos Pelikan taking some useful bonus seconds along the way, and that helping him into the lead of the best Hungarian rider classification. He's wearing white. He's somewhere down there, maybe not quite in that group anymore, but nonetheless hoping that he'll potentially be handing that jersey over to another teammate by the end of the day. 3.5 to go. Make the right turn. This is where things really start to happen on this climb. And the rise towards the TV mast, a very popular destination point for tourism in this country. 3rd most popular visitor attraction in Hungary, they tell me, after Lake Balaton, where we were yesterday. And of course the nation's capital itself. Everybody goes to Budapest, but there's so much more to Hungary. And what about Tim de Klerk? There's so much more to him than riding on a flat road. Already 7K into this climb, and the tractor just closes this one down. He won't be on the front for a whole lot longer, but this has been a valuable, worthy effort on behalf of Albert With and Philipsen of the Lidl Trek squad. Down the back, riders starting to flounder a little bit. Mark Valente was there for the MBH Bank Balan squad. And now here comes the attack. Looks like Akita is trying his luck here. And Akita opens up a little bit of daylight between himself. Zakovi, that's going to be here for the UA Team Emirates squad. And Albert Withen Philipsen is limpet-like, latching onto this. No major advantage gained for Higuita. Caused a little bit of a fracture in there. His teammate, Harold Martin Lopez, locks in fourth place behind Albert Withen Philipsen. Very impressive job being done by MBH Ballon. CSB rider. Looks like Pavel Novak. Head of the race. Bit of a fracture. One of the Euskaltel riders trying to latch on for as long as possible. Marton Dina will have started the day really fired up to perform in his home race. Novak keeps the pressure on and tries to see if it's possible maybe just to open up a little bit of an advantage. Well, that needs to be closed down and organised. Herzog thereabouts as well for the Red Bull Border Hansgrohe squad. 2.5 to go. And this is really, really impressive work by Novak. Every time there's a sort of a half a hint of a stall, he keeps the pressure on as if he doesn't want to allow anyone back in. He just wants to keep it as hard as he can manage for as long as possible. And that's it's a good tactic. It's a good way to play it because you're not going to be vulnerable to a stop-start, and those changes of acceleration can really cost a lot of riders. The maintenance of acceleration has cost Siebe de Weert his position at the front. He'll reset, go again in the break, if not tomorrow on the final day. Novak not for looking around just yet. Is that Novak on the front? There's a couple of riders indeed from the... Yeah, I don't think it is Novak. Keeper Kern Pharma further back. Oh, here he goes. An attack we've been half expecting. Harold Martin Lopez, one of the few squads, if not the only squad, with two riders safely in that group for an extended period of time. And the Astana squad have decided to launch their second option. Well, they're probably their main option at the start of the day, but the second attack from the XTS Astana squad, this time coming from Harold Martin Lopez of Ecuador, who immediately opens up several seconds of an advantage over Novak, Withen Philipsen and the rest. And he settles into trying to expand that advantage in the most difficult element of the gradient. Up towards the TV mast, the finishing line is within probably 150 meters of that mast. Well, that is very much where they're headed. And the fracture in that group looks like it might be healed, but for how long? And fundamentally, will they be able to get back to Harold Martin Lopez, who's in stunning form at the moment? Those victories, that overall success in the Tour of Hellas, for all that it's a relatively lowly ranked event, or at least it's a developing event. It's a race that has a decent pedigree and heritage, but it's sort of re-emerged in the last couple of years, and they've got big plans, and it had an enhanced starting list this year with plenty of World Tour teams, and well, Martin Lopez taking the victory on that occasion. And for Caja Rural to show at the front and see what's possible. And he followed up that victory in Greece with a very nice second overall in the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey. And that came with a stage victory as well, ahead of the overall winner, Wout Poels. So might even have delivered a little bit more. Nonetheless, the form is good. It's a bit like Castillon, just trying to keep the pressure on and close this one down to Novak. Meanwhile, Lopez, all action, a high cadence, high power effort. Novak is causing all sorts of pain and suffering and difficulty for Castillon. Albert Withen Philipsen just latching on here. 18-year-old from Lidl Trek. Fabulous all-rounder. Just exploring his ultimate ability as a bike rider. And potentially An excellent defence here as well for the Lidl Trek squad, who won this event last year, courtesy of Thibaut Nace, who took the victory on this climb, turned himself upside down and inside out, eventually prevailed. Well, today they've got a big problem to try and defend that title, because the XDS Astana squad have come, it's showing it down to 3 seconds. So is he coming back to them? Well, he is. I mean, that's remarkable stuff. Sustained push here from Novak and friends, and well, they've got to within a handful of seconds of Lopez, who has a little look around. And does he get a signal to go again? Was it a shout from the car, or was it a, you know what, they're not getting here? And I'm not about to wait for them to come back just to go again, so why not go again just as the gradient becomes really, really demanding. And we're inside the final kilometre now, and he opens up the jets once more and expands his advantage out more than, what, 7-8 seconds here, and probably a little bit more than that. It's really, really tight stuff, but it is now surely a commanding advantage. 700 metres remaining. A response from behind from Albert Withen Philipsen. Novak there as well, and further separations in that lead group, and starting to fracture under the pressure and the sheer intensity that has been laid down by Harold Martin Lopez of the XDS Astana squad. Every time he sits in the saddle, he has to remind himself that that's not the power and the cadence that you need. So back out of the saddle once more. Into the final half a kilometre. Can Harold Martin Lopez hang on clear? Well, it looks as if he's got enough in hand. Gradient eases ever so slightly, but still it's the final ramp up in that last 150 metres. We'll ask a question or two of many of the riders, and Harold Martin Lopez wants to open up as much of a lead as he possibly can. He seems as if he's cruising towards stage honours. Indeed, surely no one's got to get back on terms at this point, and Harold Martin Lopez continues the push to the line. The victory is secured, but he wants as much time on general classification as he can possibly get. Now another look over the shoulder just to reassure him that it is another vitally important and huge international stage race success for the man from Ecuador, Harold Martin Lopez. Pain etched on his face, but that will be replaced with joy and relief, because he has taken stage 3 of the Tour de Hongrie, and that cry of joy and ecstasy and relief announces the arrival of the first man to the finish line, chased from behind. And it looked like Covey might have gone up just to deny Albert Withen Philipsen, but no doubt about the man that got the victory. Glory in Hungary for Harold Martin Lopez of the XDS Astana squad. Indeed it was. Alessandro Covey just had about a half a bike in hand, if even that, on Albert Withen Philipsen. Harold Martin Lopez will celebrate that one for quite a while. The bus coming from behind, including the overall race leader, some way down, but he'll take over the wearing of that green jersey. Danny van Poppels enjoyed his 2 days in yellow. We'll reset and go again. Glory for Harold Martin Lopez by 7 seconds from Alessandro Covey and Albert Withen Philipsen, Novak, Castillon, Hayek, Feldhofer, and the rest in the top 10. But delight for Harold Martin Lopez.
Harold, congratulations. Big victory, your third one of the season. Tell me about the final climb.
Yeah, it was really good because my team worked full gas all stage. So I am very happy for this result. I am very happy for all confidence with my team. Also for Sergio Guita, very good rider, helped me in the last climb. So I am very happy. I am excited. Yes, this is my third victory in this season. So this is special because in this morning I said for one friend in the hospital in Ecuador. So this is for you, Mauri. I hope I recover faster and no more for my family, for my country, and also for my team.
What a glorious victory for Mauri and for the family and for the country. And Harold Martin Lopez, broad beaming smile from the young Ecuadorian. First year at World Tour level with the XDS Astana squad, up from the development team. And plenty more to come from him. Potential general classification success to celebrate on Sunday. He's got a handy 11-second advantage now over Alessandro Covi, Albert Withen Philipsen within 13 seconds, but a lot of work to do. A lot of bonus seconds out the road, actually, in the final 2 stages. So it is a lead to be defended. He's got a full complement of riders available to him as well. So the XDS Astana squad looking strong and looking potentially towards another major international success. Danny van Poppel with an 11-point advantage in the points classification, intermediate points, and another sprint opportunity at the conclusion of tomorrow's activities for Danny van Poppel. Going for a treble tomorrow. We bet against it for the Red Bull Borna Hansgrohe rider from the Netherlands. Siebe de Weert, no points claimed for the Belgian rider today, but still maintains a 10-point lead over Harold Martin Lopez, who claimed the top points at the summit of the biggest climb of the week today. Siebe de Weert, will it be tomorrow, will it be the final day that he will try and rebuild his lead, but nonetheless looking pretty good. And Balint Feldhofer has announced his arrival on the international stage with a glorious 7th place finish today, 7th overall, and the leader of the Hungarian best rider classification. A couple of teenagers in the top 10 and 19-year-old at the head of the best Hungarian classification. He's got a white jersey to wear into the penultimate stage. Glory for Harold Martin Lopez. And joy unbound for Ecuador as we look forward to the penultimate stage.